Hello. Let's start off this practice by warming up a little bit. So we're going to shift our weight from the left to the right foot, back and forth, allowing our upper body to just be kind of loosey-goosey and wavy. Wave your spine, maybe lead with your shoulder from direction to direction. And it's important that we warm up so that we're stretching warm muscles instead of cold. And really fun ways to warm up include things that test our coordination. So we're going to do what's called a grapevine step. And if you need to take tiny steps while holding on to the back of a chair, you're totally welcome to do that. But just try to think about the organization and order of the steps that we're doing, because we're doing some yoga for the brain here too. And we're also getting our balance and our mobility together, all while doing a move a lot of you might already know. So whatever direction you're going, that's the first leg that's going to lead, and it's always going to be one leg after the other, so there's no repeat leg steps. So it'll be, if I'm going to the right, my right foot will step out, my left foot will cross behind, my right foot will step out, and then my left foot will come to step together with the right. And then in the opposite direction, so we're going left, my left foot will come out, my right foot will step behind, my left foot will come out, my right foot will step together. So you're going to need at least enough room to take 4 steps side to side. You're going to try to stay in a straight line as best you can and stagger yourselves if you need to. I'm going to start on the right. So I'm going to go right, left, cross, right, step together. Left, right, cross, left, step together. Right, left, cross, right, step together. Left, right, cross, left, step together. Now add a clap at the end. Right, left, cross, right, step together, clap. Left, right, cross, left, step together, clap. Right, left, cross, right, step together, clap. Left, right, cross, left, step together. And now start to maybe lead with your shoulders or even your head, whatever feels good. Just beginning to breathe maybe a little more deeply and intentionally. You can rock back and forth, you can groove it out. Since there's no music on this video, you can always put on some music to do my videos to, and you'll probably find that stuff syncs up weirdly. And you can always go at your own pace anyway. So really try to get as much of your body into it as you can. And it does not matter what you look like. Just the more movement you can do, the better. And I'm going to mess up, but that's okay because I know how to start again. Always just step out with that foot that's going the direction I'm going. Great. So I'm breathing a little harder. It's kind of hard to talk and do these things at the same time. But now that we've done that and we're a little more warmed up, we're going to do some things that involve a little bit of a squat. And now I want you guys to be sure that when you're doing squats, you're not leaning forward into your knees. You want to rock the weight back into your heels. And if all you want to go down is a micromillimeter, that's fine. You're going to squeeze your butt when you release this. But if you could, the further you can go down as though you were sitting down onto a lower bench, the better. Just softening the knees down, sticking your butt out, and then squeezing your butt when you come up. But we're going to do this with our elbows up, making these big circles. So as we squat a little, our feet are a little wider than hips distance apart, and we're going to pretend we're rowing a boat. Our elbows come up and back and around. I'm going to face forward. And now let's make those elbows come forward instead, so you can push forward, and when your elbows get down to about shoulder height, you start softening those knees. And like I said, if this is a lot for you, then make sure that you're not bending in very far. Your shins and chest are trying to make the same angle. And now let's try making these angles go side to side. So my feet are going to rotate so that they point 45 degrees towards the corner of the room. And I'm going to be going back again and sitting into it a little, and then my feet are going to swivel to the other corner of the room, and I'm going to pull those elbows up and back and swivel. Up and back, swivel. Yeah, now we're really getting somewhere. Rowing that boat back and forth. I guess we're getting nowhere, actually. But whatever, we're maybe breathing a little harder. We're letting our spine get into it, letting our hips start to move. Great. And I know it can feel silly, some of this stuff, but I know if it's getting me breathing heavier, then you guys are probably feeling it too. So let's take another moment to steady our breath again. Let's take our arms down, out, up and around above our head. And then let's sit only so slightly into that squat that we've been doing. Maybe your toes are a little out, heels in. And now we're going to just reach. Imagine you had an imaginary beach ball and that you could squeeze it just with the intention of your mind between your hands. You're creating some internal resistance. And as you stand up, you stretch those arms long and then you sit back down. Now this time, reach your beach ball up and over to the left. Maybe your hips come out to the right, come back to center. Now reach them up and over to the right. Maybe your hips come out to the left, come back to center. If you need to hold on to a chair with one arm and then switch arms as you come up to reach from side to side, that's fine. Whatever we're doing, we're working on our balance. So another thing, let's come into that slight squat, very light, not even your deepest expression of the pose. But I want us to do standing cat-cows. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to arch our tailbone up and back and the crown of our head and our shoulders back to meet it, making a C curve on the back body. This is the opposite of what I usually say you should do with your pelvis. And then exhale and round your whole spine. Spread your shoulder blades away from one another. Your chin tucks in towards your chest. Your tailbone roots down. And now the C curve is on the front side of your body. Inhale, C curve on the back side of your body. Exhale, C curve on the front side of your body. And then find a place in your squat where you're still having a little bit of that C curve on the front side of your body instead of the back. So the tailbone slightly reaches down. And now let's push the ground away from us and stand up and move our weight from side to side. That was quite a bit of work in a row. Great job. Now we're going to do our hip in and outs. So you can do this standing, working on your balance. You can also do this with a chair. So if you're going to be on a chair, come to the right side of the chair and your left hand can be on the top of the back of the chair. Standing, your left hand can be on your left hip. But to start, we're just going to come up onto the ball of our right foot and we're going to turn our knee in towards the across our body and then open it out in the opposite direction. Now when we turn it in, we're going to maybe even pull this right shoulder back, kind of making a twist here. And then when we open it out, we're trying to make sure that we're not following with that left hip around. We want to open the right hip independently of the left hip, as though almost your hips were both rotating externally and you were pressing your pelvis a little towards the front. So in, out, really open that hip, in, out. Your hand on the chair is there for support, but make sure you're not dumping into it. Be as light as you can on your fingertips. Find all four corners of your left foot. Maybe take a second to make sure your toes are pointed forward. You can start to really balance and align our hips. And then if you're feeling it, instead of just turning your hips in and out, you can begin to tap in front. Small steps to begin with. You can have your hands on your hips if you're standing by yourself. And this is quite a bit of balance standing on one foot. So it helps to look at something that is unmoving about the distance away from you as you are tall. A spot in the carpet, a picture on the wall. As you begin to get looser, you can make your steps bigger. Breathing. It's always easy to hold our breath when we're balancing, but let's try to take a deep breath in. And then we're going to let that go, and we're going to rock side to side. Softening into each knee and giving that leg a break because we just asked it to do a lot of work. If at any point this is too much, good thing this is a video. You can either fast forward it to a time that looks better for you, or you can sit it out or push pause, whatever you need to do. So here we are. If you're using a chair, you're on the left side of the chair. Your right foot, you're going to shoot those toes straight forward. And you're going to lean your weight just a little into it to try to center your weight over the right foot so that it's easy to come up onto the ball of your left foot. And then you're going to cross that knee in front and open it out to the side. Cross it in front, open it out. Remember when you're opening it out not to follow it with that right hip. Anchor that right hip back. Press your pubic bone towards the front side of the room. Breathing, not dumping into the hand on the chair, resting lightly on the fingertips, as lightly as you can, so that you can start to work on balance and toning the right ankle and shin. As you become a little more warm, let's start doing a toe tap. So point your toes and tap them in front, opening your hip, you tap them a little behind. And as you get looser, your range of motion can increase. You can have hands on your hips, hands wherever you want, really. Having my right hand on my hip seems to really help with balance. Your standing legs, ankle might wiggle and jiggle, but that's great because it's just building muscle and muscle memory in that leg, which will help us with balance and keep us from falling. And then I've been talking a lot, so I'm assuming we did that for a good long time. So that's great. Let's take a moment. We're going to do a hip flexor stretch. If you're using the chair, you're going to set it in front of you, and you're going to put your right foot up, right up by the legs of the chair so that you can easily reach the top of the back of the seat, and your left leg is going to go behind. I like them to be a little wider than hips distance this way, but also hips distance apart, not walking a tightrope from left to right. For right now, I want you to really soften into that back heel, and in fact, you can lift your back heel up and bend a little into that knee, using the chair for support if you need to. I want you to pull the right hip back and the left hip forward. Rotate your pelvis down towards the ground in the way as though it was a bowl of soup that you didn't want to spill forward, and then grow your spine long first. Bending into the right front knee, only so far as it goes over the ankle. If you find that you're exceeding the ankle, I want you to tick-tock your back foot further. For now, that back heel is up, and we're bending, softening into that knee. It's not locked yet. We're just setting up this front leg. Again, pull back with the right hip, press forward with the left hip. Tilt your pelvis down and towards the ground and grow your spine long. Maybe even leaning your torso slightly back. You can hold onto the chair if you want. You can just take your left arm and bring it up by your left ear if you'd like. Now that left heel behind you that's currently up, you're going to slowly start to try to straighten that leg to your version of straight, descending that heel towards the ground without expecting it to meet there, and lengthening through the left side of your body. Bending into that front knee, sucking in at your belly button and those bottom 3 ribs, maybe leaning your shoulders and torso back, and maybe reaching up and over to the right. If at any point it takes your breath away, just come to an earlier version. You can bring that left hand back down. You can shorten your stance. But let's all take a second to come out of that now and rock a little back and forth. And so now we're going to do the other side. Let's give our hips a little twist and shout first, because I know that can be a lot, especially if you don't stretch often, which I'm planning to change, although I got to give it up for my parents. They've been doing it every day that I've been available. Okay, so the other side. Now the left leg is going to go, you don't have to change your chair around. You can just send your left toes pointing forward, your right toes are also pointing forward, but they're hips distance apart so that you're not walking on a tightrope. That front foot is close to the legs of the chair so that you can reach the back of the chair without having to reach forward. We want to keep our torso up and straight at the very least. You're going to begin to bend into that front knee, and if you notice that you can easily pass the ankle with your knee, then you just tick-tock this back foot back a little. Let's lift up onto the ball of the back foot and sink that knee towards the ground slightly. Just a nice bend in the knee that allows us to pull our left hip back, right hip forward, tilt our pelvis towards the floor, grow our spine long and tall. Suck in at the belly button and begin to engage your right glutes. Maybe leaning your torso back, maybe reaching that back heel down and towards the ground. Breathing into that front right side hip flexor. The more you lean your torso back or bend into your front knee, the more you'll feel this. Pulling the left hip back, right hip forward so that we're evening them out and not running away from sensation, and taking breaks whenever we need. If you're still with me, your right arm can go up by your ear, stretching all the way from the outside of your right foot to your hip to your shoulder to your fingertips. Draw the shoulders away from the ears, pull back at your belly button and bottom 3 ribs, maybe leaning over to the left. Breathing. And then coming back up through center, softening the knees, taking our time to walk back up to a place where we're feeling a little more comfortable. From here, you're going to come up to the back of your chair, You're going to have it turn in such a way that you're going to be able to back away from it some, but we're going to get really close to the chair to start. And we're going to turn the elbows of our eyes towards the ceiling so that if we bend the elbows, they're coming back towards our ribs. And we're going to start to bend those elbows as we lower our torso slowly, moving our feet back, but keeping a bend to the elbows, not straightening the arms yet. Keep a bend to the knees too. I want you to try to lay your belly on top of your thighs. And then we're going to slowly, with our knees very, very bent, drape our spine over the shelf that's made by those quadricep muscles. Now, your crown of your head can reach towards the chair as your tailbone reaches back. If it's comfortable or healthy for you to do, you can hang your head between your arms, allowing the weight of the head to begin to increase the space between the vertebrae of your upper back. If this is feeling good, you can creep your feet back even further, coming out to the point where your arms would be as straight as you want them to be. Your shoulder blades are coming together on the back. Your heart is melting down. But our knees are so soft that this stretch is not in our lower back, but in our upper back more. From here, you can begin to straighten one leg at a time, just to a point that feels good. So I'm straightening my right leg. I'm letting my left leg just hang in the socket, the knees bent. And I'm breathing, pressing all four corners of my right foot into the ground and imagining I could lift and spread my sits bones. And then I'm going to soften that knee and I'm going to straighten the left knee instead, allowing the right leg to hang in the socket. If I'm looking back at my knees, that means I'm probably releasing my head. Anybody with glaucoma concerns should not let their head go below their heart, though. And then you're going to bend both knees, and let's pedal that back and forth, straightening the right leg, bend the knee, straighten the left leg, bend the knee. And now maybe begin to straighten both legs. Now, they don't have to get straight at all, just the intention of thinking about going there someday. And press into all four corners of your feet to lift and spread the sits bones, radiating the stretch up the back of both sides of your legs. Breathing as deeply as you can into that space between your shoulder blades, all the way up the back of your legs and into your lower back. And then slowly soften your knees first, soften your elbows, and begin to walk your feet back up towards the chair. Ooh, that's a good one. So let's give ourselves a shoulder roll back and a shoulder roll forward. Roll back, roll forward. I need a drink of water. All right, so from here, you're going to have the chair so that it's out to a side again. This time your right toes are going to face the chair and your left toes are going to face forward. You're going to put both of your hands out at shoulder height first so that they're in line with your body. They're not forward or back, but in line. And then for now, let's bend in a little to the front foot. Those left toes are perpendicular, so they face the front of the room, while the right foot, the right bent leg, faces the right side of the room. The front heel is in line with the back arch for now. And imagine you could press down on something with your hands. We're going to reach out between both fingertips. We're going to slightly bend that front knee. We're not going to allow it to exceed over the ankle. But for now, this is Warrior Two pose. You can look over your right arm. And then imagine someone was pulling on that right arm like it was a tug of war and somebody had your right wrist. And then they started to ease up, but somebody had your left wrist and the tug of war is going in the opposite direction. As you pull to the right again, allow your hips to come back and to the left, and then pull back and your hips might shift forward and to the right. Now come back to center and first straighten your front leg, keeping a micro bend, so not all the way straight. And now you can find any place on your chair that's good for you. So if you need to have the seat of the chair available, that's great. But if the top of the chair is best for you, this is a pretty intense pose. You're going to lean as though somebody had that right hand, again forward, your hips lean back, and you're going to allow those right fingertips to come on the chair. For now, let's send those left fingertips down to our back left hip. And let's pull that hip back manually, that shoulder back, so it's not closing towards the floor. attempting to externally rotate that left leg, pressing our pubic bone towards the front of the room, and leaning, extending through both sides of the waist towards our fingertips on the chair. For me, I need to be further down for it to be an effective stretch. If you have to close your shoulder, you should be up higher. But we're going to pull that left shoulder back, crawl the fingertips away, grow through the sides of the waist, and feel this pinch through the kidney and adrenal and the iliac crest of the hip. Breathing, staying with that left hand on the hip, or the left hand can come first in line with the right hand. Stretching in two different directions, not dumping into this bottom hand, but reaching out through the top one, and your arm can stay there or it can come over your head. This is much more intense pose, so please come back to an easier version if it takes your breath away. You can look up under your arm if you're here with me. And then we're going to soften into that front knee first, bring that left hand back down to the hip, and using our obliques, we're going to come to stand. We've got exactly one more standing pose, and that's this on the other side before we get to doing some stuff that's a little more chill. Thanks for sticking through it with me. So our left toes are going to be close to the chair and pointed towards the left side of the room. Our right toes are going to point towards the front side of the room, and our stance is going to be a little wider than it usually is when we're just standing. So a little wider than hips distance. The front heel lines up with the back heel, and for now let's bend a little into this front left leg. If you're easily going past the knee, tick-tock your back foot a little bit more further out so that when you bend, you have this nice right angle with your knee and your ankle. And then we're going to take our hands out to shoulder height, in line with our body, so not in front, not in back, but straight in line. And we're going to sink a little into that front hip. We're going to imagine we had this external rotation of that leg, pulling the knee back and towards the left, trying to see the inside of the front of the left of our foot, pressing into the outside of the back foot to keep that leg, that knee from buckling. Imagine you could press down on two high dressers here and extending through the crown of your head, breathing, pressing your pelvic bone towards the front of the room, just breathing. And then you're going to imagine someone had your front right wrist and it's pulling you towards the front like a tug of war. And then they have your left wrist and it's pulling you towards the back, towards the front. When you go towards the back, maybe your hips rock towards that left hand. When you go towards the left, maybe your hips rock back and to the right. And then from here, let's come back to center first and straighten this front left leg. Not so much that the knee's locked, but your intention is straight. Let's reset the pelvic tilt towards the front of the room and those hips back towards the back wall, leaning forward with that right hand and then finding our place on the chair. Up high is great. If that's where you should be, that's where you should be. And your right hand should be on your right hip. Let's encourage that right shoulder back. For me, I need to be a little bit lower for this to be effective, so my fingertips are on the chair. I'm keeping this front leg straight but not locked, pressing my hips to the right, but also my pelvic bone towards the front of the room, pulling back through my right shoulder and growing through both sides of my waist. Maybe crawling my fingertips away from me, breathing, coming to an easier version if I need to. Your right arm can go up and out in line with your left arm. Make sure you're not dumping into those bottom fingertips, but reaching up and through the top. And if you'd like, that arm can come up and over your head. You can look up and under that arm. Again, I give so many options because there's a variety of people doing it, and I don't know who is where. But please always stay at your own option. That right hand can come to the hip first. You can bend into that left knee, and you can come to standing, dragging that foot in. And then we're going to find ourselves seated in our chair. Hooray! Make sure you guys can see everything. So we've been working a lot on our hips. Let's go ahead and keep with that. If it would be easy for you to stay standing, holding on to the chair and grabbing your ankle for a quad stretch with your outside hand, you can do that. Otherwise, we're going to do a version that has us sitting on the chair. So we're going to turn to our right first. We're going to hold on to the back of the chair with our right arm. And then our sits bones are balanced enough on the seat, and we're not going to over tip the chair in either direction. But we hopefully have enough room to start allowing our left leg to drop. This is a good time to use the anchor of this right arm on the chair to help get taller as this left knee drops. And when you get to the point that you can, try to tuck your toes under so the top of your foot becomes what's on the ground. And I'm using my left hand to hold on to the seat right here for a moment, just to keep my balance. I'm trying to make sure that my hips and shoulders are oriented towards the side of the room. And try it for now to just relax all the muscular effort in that leg. If you're doing the standing version, you're going to be on the left side of your chair, and your left hand's going to grab your left ankle with the toes pointed for this version. You're going to squeeze your knees first towards one another. Rotate that pelvis down and grow your spine long. Press your heel towards your butt, your foot into your hand, and reach your knee towards the ground, and see if you can't get that stretch to radiate all up towards the front side of the leg. If you're on the chair still, you can now start to press your foot into the floor. If you like, you'll get a nice stretch on the top of your foot. You can lean your torso back. First, root that pelvis down so we're not spilling our soup. Suck in at the belly button. You've got this whole plank up through the solar plexus. You can begin to lean your shoulders back, and that'll intensify the stretch. If you're somewhere in between standing and sitting, you can grab a strap and you can wrap it around the front side of that left ankle, using your left hand on the outside to grab the strap once it's there. Still holding onto the back of the chair, you can begin to use the strap to pull your heel towards your butt and lean your torso back. The more you lean back, the more you'll feel it all in the front of the hip flexor and quadricep. Breathing. And then we're going to let that go. And we're going to turn around to do the other side. So if you're doing the standing version, you're on the right side of the chair, right hand grabbing the right ankle. If you're doing the sitting version, make sure that your sits bones are both on the chair, but your front leg can dangle down off the side. Your back arm is there for you for support. You can hold on to the side of the chair as well if that helps. First, allowing all of the muscular effort to leave that leg and just letting gravity do what it does. You can suck in at the belly button and begin to lean your torso just a little back to see how it feels. You can sit back up if that didn't feel the best, or just rock in and out of it dynamically. Never bouncing, but slow, dynamic movement can be good. If you'd like, you can press your foot into the floor, yearning your knee towards the ground, but not in such a way that you're straining your knee. Getting that stretch through the top of your foot. Breathing. The more you lean your shoulders back, the more you're going to feel this. If you're standing up, make sure that you've got that pelvis aimed towards the ground, and you're going to suck your knees back together. Once you get your ankle in your hand, try to pull your right knee back towards your left. Press your foot into your hand and feel how you can make your shoulder get a stretch out of it too, and also yearn your knee towards the ground, and it'll intensify the stretch in your quad. If you're sitting in the chair and you're somewhere in between these two places, you can take your strap around the front of your right ankle to the outside of your right leg, holding onto it with your right hand, and still holding onto the back of the chair for support. You can begin to pull that heel towards your butt. And then the more you lean back as you yearn your knee down and towards the ground, the more you're going to feel the stretch. Breathing. And then we're going to come back through center. So let's give our hips a little wiggle in and out, windshield wiper them back and forth. And then take the strap really long so that you can dangle it down to the ground and put it right around the ball of your right foot. Creep your fingers down the strap and sit tall. Make sure that you're far enough back on your chair that you're secure, but far enough forward that the whole flat of the left foot can be on the ground. And then elbows pinned into the side for support. You can use the strap to begin to pull your knee up and towards your right shoulder. If you'd like, instead of the strap for this portion, you can hold the back of your thigh, but we will need the strap in a minute. So try to sit tall. Yearn the top right hip flexor back down towards the chair, even as you pull the shoulder and knee closer to one another. And then begin to straighten your leg only to your point of stretch, allowing your hands to slide out on the strap if you need more space. See if you can't turn your toes in and heel out to even your toes up towards the ceiling, putting your hip in the socket where it's meant to be. And then grow through your heart. Get taller through the crown of your head. Sink your shoulders away from your ears. Pressing the heel of your foot forward, pull the right hip back. I know it's weird to have to do things in so many directions. And you can stay here, you can soften back, you could take a break, or you can put the strap in your right hand, hold on to the left side of the chair, and open your leg out to the side. Breathing. Coming back through center first, softening that leg back down to the ground. Sorry, my computer was trying to go to sleep. And then we're going to switch over to the left leg with the strap. So if you hold the strap really long, you don't have to bend down to do it. You can just let it dangle to the ground. And you can place your left foot in. And then pull your left knee towards your left shoulder. Breathing, elbows in towards the side for support. Feeling that maybe in your hip flexor. And then press through the heel of your left leg to begin to straighten that leg towards the front of the room. Moving your hands up or down the strap as needed. Turning your heel out and your toes a little more up towards the sky. Reaching out through the heel but pulling back through the left hip. Breathing. Staying here, coming to something previous, or you can grab the strap in your left hand and the right side of your chair with your right arm. And you can open that hip out to the side, keeping the left leg flat, the left foot flat on the ground, the leg pointed forward. And then you can bring that left leg back in and back down to the ground. Keep the strap on the left foot for now. We're going to be going into a seated figure 4, just creeping up so that your sits bones are closer to the edge of your chair, but not so much that you're going to overbalance. This entry is for people who have a hard time getting their leg up on top of their thigh, their flexed foot on top of their thigh. If you can get to this figure 4 without this help, just make sure your left foot is flexed and stay there for a minute breathing. If you need a little help or you're not quite there yet, you can open your knee out to the side so the sole of your left foot comes up. And you can use the strap to help bring your leg up to whatever your point of stretch feels comfortable, allowing that knee to spill open to the side and keeping that foot flexed. As you loosen, you may be able to creep your way further down. But whoever's comfortable, we're going to put our left foot on top of our right thigh, close towards the knee, but not actually on top of it. And then we're going to take our left hand and we're just going to massage first around the quads that we just stretched a minute ago. And then it's from the hip crease all the way towards the knee. You can start to come in to the inner thigh. And then find a place that feels good to allow some weight to help that knee to descend out to the side. Allow the weight in your hand to settle. Rotate your pelvis down towards the chair in such a way that you're not spilling your soup. Suck in at your belly button. Grow through the heart, but without lifting your shoulders or popping your ribs out. Grow through the top of your head. And maybe as you start to loosen and breathe, you can allow a little bit of pressure to come into that left hand, helping to open that outer hip even further. Maybe also feeling it on the inner hip. Breathing. Try to match the length of your inhale with the length of your exhale. Hollow out the back of your throat. Try to make it sound like when you hold a seashell up to your ear. And then we're going to let that go slowly, whatever version we were in, and put the left leg on the floor, opening the hip out to the side and turning it in. And then the right foot, if you need the strap entry, we're going to place the strap around the ball of the right foot. The left foot plants on the floor, the knee points forward, the right knee spills open to the side. And if you're using this method, you can use the strap to help pull your foot up while the knee spills further open. If you have it in you already, or if you want to get there later, you can put your right foot on top of your left thigh with a flexed foot, and then use your right hand to self-massage from the hip flexor down the quads, and then moving inwards towards the inner side of your thighs. Finding a place somewhere near your knee but not on it to allow some gentle pressure to help that knee to descend down and out. Sitting tall, breathing in, exhaling. Let's do a breath retention. So we're going to breathe in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, breathe out, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. And now take big, bountiful breaths in and out. Allow the energy to circulate through your body and unravel this hip. Maybe through breathing, we've allowed it to release a little more, and you can increase the pressure slightly in your right hand, but only if that's what's right for you. And then we're going to gently let that pressure go. We're going to bring that foot down to the ground, rocking our knees in and out, back and forth. So your left toes are going to face forward, and your right toes are going to face out at a 45-degree angle towards the right side of the room. Your knee's going to spill open to the side. You've stepped your leg a little wider. We're going to open out the inside of this thigh. So our right hand is going to smooth down the inside of the thigh, and as it gets closer to the knee, maybe the arm can get a little straighter, and you can use some pressure in that hand to both press the knee out and open to the right further, but also to help pull yourself into a bit of a twist. So your left shoulder is going to go back and your right shoulder is going to twist around and forward, just as though you could turn both of your shoulders towards the left wall. The pressure in your right hand helps you do this, but think about the muscles of the spine, breathing, twisting, and then we're going to let that go. Rock that hip in and out. Placing our right foot so that the toes face forward. Our left toes are going to step out to the side and then point at a 45-degree angle towards the corner of the room. We're going to open up, flex our foot, open the sole of the foot a little off the ground if it's comfortable, and allow our left hand now to begin traveling all the way up from the top near the hip down towards the knee. Breathing. As your arm gets closer towards the knee but not on it, you might be able to straighten it more, and in doing so you may be able to encourage a thoracic twist towards the right side. So the hips opening out into the left, and in opposition our shoulders are turning towards the right. You can turn to look over the right shoulder if you'd like. Breathing, thinking about the muscles lining the spine, being responsible for the twist. And then we're going to let that go. Windshield wiper that leg a little more. So we've been doing a lot of hip stuff. Let's start with a couple twists and then work into the shoulders. We're just going to do a gentle twist. So our left hand's going to come to the outside of our right leg. Our right arm first is going to get really tall, but we're going to sink the shoulder away from the ear so that we can grow through the crown of our head. Get really tall first, and then take this right hand and you can place it either on the back of the chair behind you, on the high part, or on the seat behind your tailbone. Wherever you are is great. We're first going to sit really tall, and then we're going to think about pulling that right shoulder back, left shoulder forward, with the power of the muscles lining the spine, not with the grip of this arm on the back of the chair. The arm on the back of the chair is there to let you know there's space to turn into. And slowly your neck can join in. We're trying to keep the hips anchored forward as we turn the rest of our spine towards the back, but really focusing on the upper back because it is less flexible. Come out of it a little on an inhale and sit tall, and then exhale again, twisting around to the right, maybe turning your chin to the right, and then complete it by turning your eyes all the way to the right, and see how you can even stretch the muscles behind your eyes. Letting the eyes come back to center, you might feel a little dizzy, and then softening all the way back through. Let's roll our shoulders one by one, and then both, forward and back. Great, and now we're going to take our right hand to the outside of our left leg. Our left arm is first going to go up by our ear, and we're going to grow really tall. We're going to pull the shoulder back down away from the ear even as we reach the fingertips away. Then we're going to grow through the crown of our head. And we're going to find some place for our left hand to go now, either the high back of the chair or behind our tailbone on the seat. We're going to use our fingertips to encourage us to get tall again, and then we're going to begin to turn back through the left shoulder forward through the right, using the strength of the spine muscles and not pulling with our arm. But our arm is there to hold us on our threshold. And as you breathe, you'll begin to get little micromillimeters of improvement, of softening. You're inflating from the inside out. You're increasing the benefits of the twist. Come a little bit out of it so that you can sit a little taller. Anchor your hips forward using that right hand in the leg to help you to remember. And then use your left shoulder to turn back again. Maybe your gaze turns. Send your eyes to the left and stretch the muscles of your eyes. Let the gaze come back to neutral first, and then spin your spine back around to the front. The next thing we're doing might sound weird on the mic. It just kind of gets like that when you're leaning forward, but we're going to do a very safe forward fold. If you have any glaucoma concerns, I'd like you to keep your hands on your thighs and not let your head go down below your heart. I'd like you to reach your tailbone back into the seat and then the crown of your head forward, and really try to extend in both directions through the spine. If that's not a concern for you, you can lay your belly down on your thighs, and if it's comfortable, you can allow your arms to dangle down towards the ground. Try to release your head. If you're releasing your head, you're looking through your knees and not at your toes. Maybe give it a little shake no, a little shake yes, and then let it all the way go if you can. If not, like I said, it's always okay and very beneficial to reach the crown of the head and the tailbone away from each other intentionally. But in this version, the weight of our head is allowing for our upper back and our cervical spine to release through the power of gravity. So we don't have anything to do but feel. And with our thighs pressed into our stomach, we can feel how we can breathe into the back side of our body. I'm trying to sit up a little bit just so that the microphone hopefully works better. But we tend to be very forward focused, breathing into the front side of our lungs. But we have the sides and backs of our waist. The weight of our shoulders can help stretch them out just because they're hanging there near the ground. I can reach the ground, so I have my palms up. And then slowly you're going to bring yourself back up to a seated position. We're going to stretch our neck now, so let's look. First we'll do it with a little bit of dynamic motion. We're going to look to the right, to the center. Exhale. Inhale to the left. Exhale to the center. Inhale to the right. Exhale to the center. Inhale to the left. Exhale to the center. Inhale to the right, and now let's hold. Turning your chin as far as you can towards the right shoulder. Pull the left shoulder back in opposition. Maybe turn your chin up towards the sky and see how it comes a little more into the jaw, the bottom lower jaw. Maybe turn your chin a little down towards the shoulder now and see how it comes into the outer back side of our neck a little bit more. And then find your favorite place to stay and breathe. And then first let the chin drop towards the chest, and then bring your head up towards the left. So our gaze is going to be level and our head is going to be turned towards the left. Turning our chin towards our shoulder as much as we can and pulling back through the right shoulder, pulling that shoulder blades back onto the back. Breathing, maybe looking up a little to get the stretch into our jaw. Maybe looking towards the shoulder a little to get it into the back of our neck. Wherever we are is great. And then we're going to allow the chin to dip towards the chest. Let's give it one big clockwise circle. What? No, this is counterclockwise. Whatever wise you're doing, it's fine. And then let's reverse that circle. And now we're going to take our right hand out to shoulder height. We're going to lift it up by our ear first and then allow our hand to come over and touch our left ear, pulling our right ear towards our right shoulder, reaching down and away from us through our left fingertips and breathing, stretching through the side of the neck. Only as much pressure in the hand as is comfortable, well, the sweet discomfort of a stretch, but not so that it's anything sharp. And your hand can stay here or it can come out to shoulder height. You can flex the wrist and press the heel of your hand away from you. Releasing the engagement softly. Let's give our head a little shake no, and a little shake yes. And then our left hand can come up and around to grab our right ear, and we can descend our left ear towards our left shoulder, but pull both shoulders down and away from the ears, back onto the back. You can reach your right hand down and away to increase the sensation. Only as much pressure in the left hand as you need. If you'd like, you can bring your right arm up to shoulder height. You can even flex your wrist and press the heel of your hand away from you. Breathing. And then we're going to come back up through center. Shake no, shake yes. And we're going to grab our strap. If the strap's on the floor and you are not, you can always use your toes to help you pick it up. So we're going to do some shoulder stretches now. Drape the strap across your lap. We're going to do this shoulder stretch first. So take your hands, interlace them, and press the palms away from you. Let's all root our tailbone down and grow through our spine, suck in at the belly button and those bottom 3 ribs. And then begin to lift your hands towards the sky, pressing the palms towards the sky if that's okay. You can release your hands if you need to, or have your palms facing down towards your head. Sink your shoulders away from your ears as you press your palms towards the sky. And then allow your hands instead to come and cradle the back of your neck. Sorry. The back of your skull, right down at the bottom. And send your elbows back and away from your peripheral vision. Breathing in, reaching your heart up and towards the sky, leaning your head into your hands. Elbows back, sucking in at the belly button still. And then allow your shoulder blades to come apart as you bring your elbows forward, only as much weight in the back of your head as you need so that you can get a nice stretch through the back of your neck. Inhale, bring those elbows back, heart lifts, head presses into the hands. Exhale, elbows forward, chin towards chest. Inhale, elbows back. And I like to end on an open heart because we tend to slouch forward. So let's hold this for just a moment more. Reach the elbows back and away from one another. Grip your fingertips together, but pull your hands apart. Press your head into your hands. Lift your chin, lift your gaze, lift your heart. Suck those bottom 3 ribs back in. And then soften and let that go. Maybe shake out the hands. Flick them like you have water on them that you're trying to get rid of. Roll the shoulders a couple times, and then let's take our strap about shoulder distance apart. Palms facing down. You're going to begin by pulling apart on the strap. And then you're going to lift the strap up towards the sky. Shoulders away from the ears, pull apart on the strap. Then you can turn, twisting just at the shoulders. So keep your hips where they are, but try to pull your right shoulder back, left shoulder forward and around. Come back through center. Still pulling apart the straps and pushing your knuckles towards the sky. Pull your left shoulder back, right shoulder around. And then center. And now begin to bend your elbows, still pulling apart on the strap. You can bring it down and behind your head. And then coming back up. I think my camera's crooked because I look crooked in the thing, but not to me. Anyways, let's let that go for a second. Let's wiggly squiggle out our arms. Really just let them go. Give them some circles. Maybe give your head a couple rocks around. Loosen up the neck. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to hold the strap really far apart. So far that when we lift it up, we can also allow our arms to start to descend back and behind us. So very soft and not going all the way to your full range of motion first. Pull apart on the strap and lift your arms up. And let them go back behind your peripheral vision to a point where you feel a really good stretch. The wider your hands are, the further they can go down behind you. Really wide, sometimes you can let your hands go all the way down, and that would be called shoulder flossing. If this feels good to you, do it with me. If not, just bring it up to your point of stretch and stay. So we're going to start by pulling apart the strap. We're going to breathe in, bring it above our head, exhale back to our point of stretch. Inhale above the head, pull apart the strap, exhale forward. Inhale above the head, exhale back. Inhale above the head, exhale forward. We can let the strap go for now, and then we're going to take our right hand out. We're going to palm facing down, place it on top of our left shoulder. Our elbow is going to come up to as close as we can get it to being shoulder height. Then our left arm is going to reach across, starting at the shoulder, smoothing that tricep around and to the front, so that our bicep comes closer to our throat and we're pulling our right arm across in front of us. You're going to sink that right shoulder down away from the ear only if it feels good. And you can stay here if this is a good enough stretch for your outer shoulder. If you'd like, you can begin to straighten that right arm instead so that the palm faces back. And you can use this left arm, bending at the elbow, to hook in front of the right arm, somewhere between the elbow and the wrist. The closer you are to the wrist, the more intense the stretch. You're going to pull that arm back and across your body, pull your shoulder down, reach the crown of your head tall. And then you're going to take this arm still, I know it's been doing a lot of work, and you're going to place the palm either on the back of your head, the back of your neck, or reach down towards that right shoulder blade. Your left arm can now smooth that tricep up and try to push it back and behind your body. You can keep this arm in front if it's most comfortable. If you have the space to cup your top right elbow with your left hand, you can use that leverage to help pull that tricep and arm back behind your head, using your right fingertips trying to touch your right shoulder blade. If your arm is behind your head, leaning your head into your arm will increase the intensity of the stretch. Lifting through the heart but pulling back in at those bottom 3 ribs and belly button. Breathing. And then we're going to let that go. Let's wiggle them out a little bit. They've been doing a lot of work. So now you're going to take your left hand and you're going to place it on top of your right shoulder. You're going to get that elbow up as close to shoulder height as you can, and you're going to pull across with that from the shoulder all the way down towards the elbow with that right arm across your body. Getting your bicep closer to your throat, pulling that left arm back and across. You can stay here if this is a good enough stretch for you. If you'd like more, you can extend that left arm so that the left palm faces the back of the room, and your right arm can come up at an angle with a bent elbow to hook that left arm somewhere between the elbow and the wrist. Pulling that arm back and across, sinking the left shoulder away from the ear, going through the crown of your head, and breathing. You should be feeling this in the outside of your left shoulder. And then you're going to take this left hand and you're going to allow the palm to touch the back of your head, the back of your neck, or trying for the back of your left shoulder blade. Your right hand can come across and help smooth that tricep up and back, staying in front if that's the most comfortable. If you have the space to cup your elbow with your hand and pull your left arm behind your head, you can do that as well. Aiming those fingertips towards the same side, left shoulder blade. If your arm is behind your head, pressing your head into your arm will intensify the stretch, as will sucking those bottom 3 ribs back in and growing taller. Breathing. Really finding all this space in our joints that we didn't even know needed a workout. And then we're going to let that go. Let's wiggle out those arms. And let's just mobilize the elbows for a minute. We're going to bring our elbows up to shoulder height and try to just rotate our forearms around. And then we're going to reverse that direction. I know your arms might be getting tired. We're about done with this portion. And then let that go. And now let's rotate the wrists. Twinkle the fingers. And reverse that direction. Take the backs of your hands and place them on your thighs, somewhere up closer to your body. And then you might not be able, probably won't be able to straighten your elbows, but you're going to squeeze your fists first, and then the intention as though you would straighten your elbows until you find a good stretch in the back outsides of your fists. So on the top of the hand, in an area we probably don't spend a lot of time on. Breathing. And then we're going to flick those fingers. We're going to release that, imagining there was water on our hands that we're trying to get off. Maybe shake the wrists a little. And now we're going to take our right hand palm facing up. Keep a micro bend in your elbow to keep it safe, but use your left hand to pull all 4 of your fingers back and towards your body, pressing the heel of your hand forward and away. You can do fingers individually, ring finger, spreading all your other fingers. I'm sorry, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky. And then the other side, all 4 fingers. Press through the heel of your hand, keep a micro bend in your elbow. Pull back with your right hand. And then use your right hand to grip just the index finger. Spread the rest of your fingers. Flex your wrist. And the middle finger. Spreading all the other fingers. Ring finger. Pinky. Awesome. We're going to get down to our ankles when we're doing floor stuff. But before we get down there, since we've been sitting in the chair, and because this is one of the best moves for mobilizing our whole pelvis, we're going to do some hip rocks from side to side. So send your hips to the left and to the right, to the left, to the right. So it's your hips that's moving. Everything else is just staying in place. Our feet are a little wider than hips distance apart. And now when we go to the left, we're going to go forward and to the right. Really sit into it. Forward to the left. Forward to the right. Forward to the left. Now go back and around. Back and around. We're doing the whole circle now. Back and around, really accentuating it as best we can. Micro bend in the knees to make sure we're not locking anything out. And now let's switch those directions. Doing our circle in the opposite direction. As our hips come forward, our torso leans back. As our hips go back, our torso leans forward. And then we're going to come back through center and find our way down on the ground. Hooray! Maybe a little more gracefully than I got here. Let's all come down on the ground. So we're laying on our back. You're going to want to have maybe a blanket nearby for when we go into Shavasana, maybe some things to support knees in a butterfly pose. But we're almost done for today. We're going to put the flats of our feet on the floor and creep our heels closer to our butt. We're going to do some soft bridges, only coming up as high as you feel comfortable with. Make sure you don't look left or right. I want you to scooch your shoulder blades underneath you and think about the weight being in the heels. Before we go up into a bridge, we're going to practice some imprints with our lower back. The way I always say to stand without spilling the soup and sucking those 3 ribs in, it's much easier to find here. So first we're going to do the opposite. Let's increase the space of our lower back, keeping our hips on the floor, lifting up, imagining we could lift up through our belly button, and then let's roll that whole lower back down onto the floor, trying to make it flat and even with the floor, sucking in at the belly button. And also the pelvis has tilted and the solar plexus area at the bottom of our ribs sucking down towards the ground. Again, let's arc the back. This can feel good, mobilizing the lower spine. We saved it for last since it's the most flexible. Arcing the back and then imprinting. One more time, let's arc it up. And then when we come down and imprint, really think about sucking that belly button in towards the ground. Put the weight in your heels. And as you inhale now, let's lift the hips only as far as you're comfortable. Breathing and then exhaling, coming back down. Let's do that again. Weight in the heels, lifting the hips. Inhaling, Exhaling, coming back down. Your arms can get into it if you want with straight arms, palms facing each other as your hips lift. Your arms can come up and overhead. As you roll back down, one vertebrae at a time, your hands can come down. When you lift the hips, try to keep your imprinted back to start. And when you're coming back down, let's roll the spine, that lower back down from the top to bottom. And here at the bottom, let's arc those hips up with the hips on the floor like we did before, just to see the difference. And then starting at the tailbone, roll your spine back down until you're in that imprint. And then press into the heels and allow your hips to go towards the sky. Your arms can follow if you like. And now on the way down, let's roll the spine from the top vertebrae down, down, down to the bottom, imprinting the whole spine. Hands come back down by our hips. Just to see the difference, let's arc that lower back only, hips still on the ground, and then start. This time, think about starting at the top by the bottom of your ribs, right at your solar plexus. Roll your spine from there, from the top down to your tailbone, having that pelvic tilt. And then last time, let's lift those hips up. Maybe the arms come overhead, and then bring those hips down. We're going to do one more hip opener here because it's a problem child for many of us. It's the same figure 4 that we did, but we're going to do a thread the needle if we can, or just a on the floor one. Every so often, I forgot to change my computer so that it didn't go to sleep. Sorry, I have to keep getting up. So our left foot is going to be bent with our leg on the floor, and our right foot is going to cross over with a flexed foot on top of the left thigh. We're going to let that knee spill open to the side, and we're going to use our right hand to help encourage that knee out and open. Keeping our foot flexed helps protect the knee. So if this is a great stretch for your outer hip, you can totally stay here. If you would like a little bit more, you can bring that left knee in closer to your chest, and you can thread the needle through the center of your legs and around the outside of the left leg, interlinking your hands behind your left thigh. If you've made it here, roll that lower back and print it back into the ground like we have been first. And then if you still have the room, you can start to pull your left knee towards your left shoulder. Your right elbow can press into the inner right thigh to help open that knee even further, but only if it's not taking your breath away. The further you try to bring that knee and shoulder closer together, the more you'll feel this, but you have to also keep trying to rotate that tailbone back down and imprint that lower back. Sink your shoulders towards the floor. And then we're going to let that go softly. Take our feet mat distance apart and windshield wiper the legs back and forth. Breathing. Then our left foot's going to cross on top of our right thigh and the knee's going to spill open here. Our left foot is flexed. You can stay here. You can place your left hand on the leg, allowing some gentle pressure to help open that hip further. Or if you'd like more, you can bring the right knee towards the right shoulder, bringing the knee up as they bring it into your chest, and thread the needle. So your left arm goes through the center, your right arm goes around the outside of your thigh, and you link hands behind your right thigh. First, let's imprint that back down onto the floor. Roll that tailbone down. Sink your shoulders back down towards the floor. And if you still want more, you can begin to bring your right shoulder and your right knee together. So you're pulling the knee towards the shoulder, but you're still trying to keep that tailbone rooted down to the ground, and you're only coming in as far as you can while you do that. Your left arm can also apply some pressure on the inside of your left elbow, on the inside of your left thigh, can help open that knee out a little further, bring some more intensity into the stretch. Some of us might not need more intensity, but if you do, there you go. Breathing, allowing ourselves to unravel one layer at a time. And then we're going to set the right foot back down, uncross the left foot, knock our knees in towards center for a second, and just take a chance to breathe. Great. Now we're going to hop our hips a little over to the left, and we're going to choose our own adventure for a twist. The easiest version would be to just allow your knees from here to staggered flop over towards the right. The next version would be to bring your knees together and in towards your chest and send them over to the right so that they stack. The final version would be to cross your left leg over top, well, it's not the final version, but for now, of your right leg and send your hips or your knees down to the right. Whatever you're doing, your knees go to the right, and you're going to try to sink that left shoulder back towards the ground. You can lift up and look over at the left hand, breathing. When I said lift up, I meant your head. It's hard doing videos. Try to sink that left shoulder towards the ground as though you had a warm hand or a sandbag. And your knees are going in the opposite direction. Gravity is doing this twist for us. My arms are out at shoulder height, and they can be straight out to the side, or if it's more comfortable, you can bend right angles into your elbows like a saguaro cactus. Whatever you're doing, just breathe. And then slowly, let's bring those knees up, using pressure in our feet to help slide our hips first to center and then a little over to the left. We're going to choose our own adventure here, whether it's just windshield wipering our legs down to the left staggered, or bringing our knees together and in towards our chest, allowing them to fall over to the left. Or finally, you can cross your right leg over your left, bring them maybe in towards the chest some, and let them descend down into the left. Your head can lift and look over your right shoulder, and then imagine you could have someone pressing down on your right shoulder, helping it to descend towards the ground. Arms are at shoulder height, straight out, or bent at right angles. Breathing. If you like, your left hand can be on top of your knee to help descend it in the opposite direction from that right shoulder sinking. And you just want to soften. The more you breathe, the more effective a twist can be. And then we're going to come back up through center first, moving our hips towards the middle. You can take your hands and make them into an arrow so the palms are together and it's pointed towards the front side of the room. Then we're going to bring our knees in closer to our chest and send that arrow between our knees. So we're on the inside of our knees, but now our hands can grab the top of our shins, ankles, or if you have the space, you can allow them to grab the tops of your feet, coming into happy baby. I'm going to turn around because I have a feeling the Bluetooth might cut out in that direction. So from here, you're going to try to descend your knees towards your armpits, the outside of your ribs. Try to roll and imprint that pelvis back down towards the ground though. So you're pulling your knees down, but you're rotating your pelvis down towards the ground and imprinting that lower back. Sink your shoulders towards the ground. And if you'd like, you can rock a little side to side. If you like, you can begin to straighten one leg at a time, only to a point that feels good on that hamstring, back of the knee, back of the shin. Taking your time, being gentle with your body. And then the first thing we're going to do before we start descending into Shavasana is allow our ankles, feet, legs, and hands all to just hang up in the sky. We're doing a gentle inversion here. So you can just let them hang there and sway. Your knees are soft, your wrists are soft. Or you can rotate at the ankles. And I know that we haven't rotated the ankles today, so you can do that. You can rotate your wrists, scrunch your toes, wiggle your fingers. We're just trying to make sure that every day we get some motion in all of the possible ranges of our body so that we don't build up all the fascia bundles and fuzz between our muscles that restricts our mobility. And the point of inversions is to help the fluids to drain back up into the body with less effort because gravity is going in the opposite direction. It can help decrease swelling in our legs. It helps with digestion. And just in general, it gives you a minute to relax. And then slowly, maybe hug the knees in first. We're going to come down with our soles of our feet together into a reclined butterfly. If this is too much, one leg can be straight. You can also place supports under your knees, but we're trying to let gravity now open our inner thighs, and we're starting to calm our breath and our mind for Shavasana. Oh good, I'm glad you can still see me. I kind of moved around. Breathing softly. Try to let go of all the muscular effort here. Be held by the floor and let gravity help you seep away some of your tension. And one leg at a time, if you like, you can stay where you are. But if you like, we're going to stretch out into Shavasana. Wiggle your toes in and out. If you have any pain in your lower back, take a blanket, a small blanket or a cushion, right up about an inch or two underneath the bottom of your glutes. Just being under your knees won't relieve the back tension, but having some support right there at the bottom of your glutes can help. And if that's not enough, you can place your feet mat distance with your knees bent and knocking in towards the center. These things can help alleviate lower back pain. You may have been pulling too hard in some of the stretches using the strength of your arms. That can be a main contributor to back pain after yoga, so be conscious of that. And take another intentional breath in and a long breath out all the way down until you feel your belly button contract in. There's nothing left. Feel the breeze on your feet and imagine you could breathe all the way from the bottom of your feet in through the top of your crown of your head. And then as you exhale, allow it to wash away any residual tension that you can. Releasing control of your breath. Maybe swallow and relax your jaw. Allow your tongue to rest just behind the front two teeth. Relax the crinkle in the middle of your forehead. Let your head be held by the ground. Find the most comfortable place. Feel the weight of your eyes in the sockets. Become aware of how you can use your mind to let go of more tension. Let's begin to scan our body. That place where your cervical spine meets your skull, very back of your neck. Let that go. The sides of your neck into your trapezius muscles. Feel the weight of your big shoulder blades and your lats sink into the floor. Allow your chest to be open, your shoulders to be weighted. The weight of your heart is now supported, and you don't have to hold on to any tension in the middle of your back. Your stomach is soft and rising and falling with the pattern of your breath. Your lower back is releasing into the floor. The back of your head, the back of your shoulders, the back of your pelvis all supported, sinking. No reason to hold into anything in the fronts of your hips. No need for any work to be being done in your quads. Let your hamstrings melt, soften. And feel how that can soften through the back of your knees. Soften your calves and your shins. Let go of your ankles and the tops of your feet. Notice the spaces between your toes. Maybe stretch your toes out and then let them soften. And the bottom of your feet, free of any burden. The breeze just tickling. Your shoulders are relaxed. Biceps, triceps. Your forearms. Your fingers curl gently in towards your palms, and maybe you feel the breeze here as well. And now spend a minute just noticing sensation. What can you feel? What can you let go of? And can you sink into stillness in your mind? On your next exhale, imagine the floor was a big marshmallow and you could sink an inch in, softening into every contour. The weight of your heart settled, soft. Your forehead relaxed. As though all the tension could be absorbed into the ground and drawn away from your body, as though wicked away. And as though you could leave it all there and not pick it back up as you begin to wiggle your fingers, rotate at the wrists and ankles, and scrunch your toes. Maybe breathing a little more deeply, turning your toes in and out, and then bending your knees closer to your chest so that you could roll over to one side. Many people prefer the right. Giving yourself as much time as you need to find yourself in a seated position. If the floor is not comfortable for you, you can try a couple things. One is a cushion underneath your sits bones so that your knees can be lower than your hips, or you can sit back up in the chair. We're just going to take a second to do a little bit more of that self-massage. Down our thighs, becoming aware and awake. Roll our shoulders back a couple times. Take our arms out to the sides, sitting as tall as we truly are, reaching our hands overhead, gazing up at our thumbs and breathing in, gathering all that's good in the world and bringing it back into center. Exhaling. Namaste. Woohoo!